Hi guys, welcome. Today we are getting new tires for the Mini. So this is my 2016 Mini Cooper John Cooper Works, and it is currently on Hankook Ventus V12s. I put them on my last Mini Cooper and then that car got totaled. Not my fault, somebody hit me. I wasn't even driving the car, so it definitely wasn't my fault. And these wheels and tires I transferred over from that car onto this car. Honestly, if you're doing a John Cooper Works, I would recommend you go with an 18-inch wheel and not a 17, which is what these are. I have clearance issues with my brakes that I have to use spacers and different wheel weights to accommodate. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I was just able to get a set of tires from Tire Rack really inexpensively, and they're great tires. So I'm going to show you what I got. So this is a Bridgestone Potenza Sport. Now, normally for a performance car, I prefer a Michelin Pilot Sport 4. Those are my favorite tires. It's what we have on the Mercedes. It's what we have on the Clubman. But they're about $225 a tire in this size. It's 205, or well, in this case, 215, 45, 17. I love Tire Rack, and they occasionally do this thing where they will have tires that are out of date, and those tires will be discounted on clearance, and they will have some sort of limited quantity. And I did this with the Passport. I got a set of tires that were 50% off. They were Pirellis. They were fantastic tires. They worked great. And I got 50% off of tires, which is a lot when you're talking about a $1,000 set of tires. These Potenzas, I paid $120 a tire. So just over 500 bucks shipped with tax for 4 tires. They're Potenza Sports. They are 215, 45, 17. They have a 300 treadwear rating. They have a AA traction rating and an A temperature rating. You can see that they are brand new. They came with stickers on them. They are just something that has been sitting on the shelf at Tire Rack for a period of time. Now, tires are supposed to have a life expectancy of a certain amount of miles or usage down to the wear bars. They're also supposed to have a life expectancy from an age perspective. So most people state that you want your tires to be less than 6 to 10 years old. And 6 to 10 is a big range, but it's based on dry rotting, it's based on how they're stored, it's based on the location of the tires. So a car sitting in the sun for 6 years is probably going to have pretty worn tires, but a car sitting in a garage for 10 years might not have as bad. And you're looking for degradation, you're looking for cracking, and it depends on whether you're taking care of the car, you're dressing the tires, you're keeping them out of the sun, etc. So these tires were on clearance for half price because they are 2 years old. So the date code on them is 02 of 2022. They're 2-year-old tires, and I was able to get them for half price because of that. So that's awesome. So as much as I would have loved to go from, the 3rd or 4th best performing tire to Pilot Sport 4s, which are one of the best performing tires, I think the only thing that tests better than it is a Continental Extreme Contact something or other, and I will never spend my money on a Continental tire. I just won't. I won't purchase Continental, period. So I'm getting these installed on the wheels that I already have. I'm going to walk you through my process and what that looks like for me, being slightly obsessive and a little ridiculous. So first, let's get a tire removed so I can show you what I'm going to do here. So, could I just take my car to the shop and have them do it for me? 100%. Would it be done the way I want it to be done? Probably not. So, what I normally do is I bring them wheels and tires instead of bringing them a car. And I do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, it allows me to clean the wheels before I take them to them and get an accurate condition of the wheels and what they look like, especially with something that is used like these wheels. I can see where there are scratches, where there are marks, where there are defects. Maybe there's a problem with the wheel that I don't even want to use it anymore. Maybe there's a problem with the wheel that I don't even want to use it anymore. Especially with something used like these. So it allows me to get an accurate assessment of the wheel, what it looks like, what condition it's in. It allows me to see if there's any damage to it before taking it in. It allows me to clean up the wheel to make sure that their wheel weights stick properly because I ceramic coat my wheels. It also allows me to remove the old weights and not have to worry about, I'm sure you've seen, you know, the Reddit posts, the pictures on Facebook, etc. of, you know, the guy that removes the wheel weights with a paint scraper. You know, not every mechanic is bad. You should be able to trust people, but in general, people aren't going to treat your property the same way that you treat your property, especially if you're a person who is maybe a little particular about things. So this gives me an opportunity to clean my tires, my wheels. I take my wheel weights off. I have this, which is a wheel weight remover. It's basically a plastic scraper that's designed to not mess up your wheels. And I'll remove the residue and make sure that everything is nice and clean. So I pulled my weights off with my scraper, and then we will remove the residue on the inside of the wheel. Probably use a little bit of tar remover. Got some Geon tar here, we'll use that. These tar removers, I'll normally just wet the adhesive a couple of times. This thing that I'm using here, this is the Source Garage wheel stand. The company doesn't make them anymore. From what I understand, Obsessed Garage bought some of the IP from them, and I think that there might be some new ones coming out in the future or something like that, but I've had this thing for a while. You don't use it all that often, only when you're working on wheels, which for me, I guess isn't that often, but it really does work well for this kind of stuff. It gets it a little bit off the ground, makes it easier for you to kind of rotate and work on a wheel. It's not really something that I can provide a link to. There are other companies that make them. I would personally probably check out the one from Poca Premium. I think that theirs is pretty nice, but you can just kind of rotate, go over here. Here's my other section. So I had 2 sets of wheel weights on this. Now, let's talk about the fitment here on this car. So I bought these originally for my Mini Cooper S. So I had an orange Mini Cooper S before this car. It was a 2015. And the S has smaller brakes on the front. Same brakes on the rear, but the smaller brakes on the front. So this has 4-piston Brembos because it is a JCW, but specifically the diameter of the brake disc is pretty huge, and the calipers are massive. So my Mini Cooper S had factory 16-inch wheels. I bought these as a +1. I went to a 17 because I didn't want my ride to get too bad. And they fit that car just fine, bolted right on, no issues. When the car got wrecked, I took these wheels off and I put the factory wheels back on. I ran into issues with fitment. So specifically on the front wheels. If you look at where the brake calipers are, they stick out too far and they hit the inside of the spokes. And then also the pins on the top of the brake pads are really, really close to the inside of the barrel. So there's 2 things that you need to do to make these fit a JCW. One is you need to have a 15 millimeter spacer. I think that you could get by with like a 12. I basically went and bought a couple different spacers from like O'Reilly's just to test the fit. And then I ordered the spacers that I wanted from Burger Tuning. I think that you could get by on a 12, but I have 15s, and I think that 15 gives you a nice flush fitment. The second thing is that you need to have low profile wheel weights. So I actually, at this point, have my own box of wheel weights because the last time I had a tire put on by a local tire shop, their wheel weights were too tall and I had rubbing issues where the top of my brake pads, like where the alignment pins go in, those actually rub the wheel weights, so I had to remove the wheel weights. I bought my own wheel weights from Amazon. I'll put a link to those in the description. And that allowed me to not have issues. So you can see here, just kind of cleaning this up. So I removed the wheel weights. I used Tarex to remove the residue. This is Geon Prep, which is like a CarPro Eraser. It's a paint prep, a panel wipe product. I use that to just kind of clean off, mostly to remove the residue from the tar, because the tar leaves like an oily residue behind. Most tar removers do. They leave some sort of like lubrication behind. So this one's good to go and ready to be loaded into my car. I deliver these to the tire store for two reasons. One, it lets me investigate the wheel and tire. Two, it lets me remove the wheel weights myself and not have to worry about them scratching my wheels. And then when I bring them back home, I normally want to clean them and apply a ceramic coating before they go back on the car. Now I could do a ceramic coating right now, but if I do, two things are gonna happen. Number one, the wheel weights aren't going to stick properly. And number two, the ceramic coating is going to get covered with all of the alignment fluid. Number two, the ceramic coating is going to get covered with all of the fluid that they use to seat the tire, and it's going to have to be cleaned up anyway when I get back. So normally I'll take them to them. I know the condition, I know there aren't scratches, I know there aren't dings, I know it's in good shape. Let them mount and balance the tires. Then I'll bring them home. I'll do a ceramic coating and bolt them on the car when I get back. So this is going to spend the day on the lift in order to facilitate that. So I'm going to work through the next one. We'll get this one removed. And do the same thing, remove the weights, load them in the car, and then I'll come back once I have the new tires mounted and balanced. I also like doing this work because it gives me an opportunity to like look at the tire, look at the suspension, you know, see how things are wearing, what everything looks like, check out my brake pads, check out the lines, are there any leaks, you know, look at the side of the engine, is there any fluid there, anything that's dripping. You know, it gives me a good opportunity to kind of just spend some time with the car, and I like working in the garage. These had a lot of weights on them. So this one had 2.5 ounces in one side, and then 1/2 ounce, about 90 degrees, on the other side. This is a good use case for the rip and rag. These are going to be thrown in the trash when I'm done. I never really talked much about Geon Tar. I really liked CarPro Tarex. That was a great product. And we can't buy it in California because of VOC compliance rules. Now I don't know why we can buy Geon Tar, because it's basically the same product. It works really similarly, and Geon and CarPro have always kind of been together. But Geon Tar works well. I've had a good experience using it. I find it strange that it's pink. And maybe that's it, I don't know, because CarPro isn't pink. So maybe there is something that's actually materially different about it. So we could see like, the rag's screwed. So this will get thrown in the bin when we're done. We got our tires mounted, balanced, installed. Like I mentioned, I have low profile wheel weights. These are what they look like. They are black. These are EP Auto. I'll put a link in the description, but this is a 1/4 ounce weight. A lot of times 1/4 ounce weights are smaller and thicker, or a 1/2 ounce weight will normally be around this size but thicker. And I have clearance issues in the front, like I mentioned. So everything went well with the mounting and balancing. I'm just cleaning everything up. We're going to do a wheel coating on this. I've done 3 of them off camera, so this is my last one. I wanted to show it. So I've sprayed Geon Tar on this towel, just right here. I like Geon Tar. I don't like the bottle, or well, the bottle's fine. The sprayer sucks. The sprayers leak and fail. I do like this Source Garage wheel stand for this stuff. It makes it super easy, and you can sit in your Viper chair and listen to some music and, you know, just kind of enjoy the day. So get this rim. One thing that I do really like about these tires, I went from a 205 to a 215, which the Minis come from the factory with a 205. The rim protection is significantly better. So with the old 205 tire, the front spokes of the wheel actually stuck out past the tire, like the furthest out face was actually the wheel, which gives you a higher likelihood of, you know, even if you don't hit curbs and stuff, like I don't drive into curbs, but you can still have something like a rock fly up and, you know, hit your wheel. Like I have actually a chip in one of the spokes on the green Mini, the 18s, and the side of one of the spokes, like right here, from a rock. That happens. So I do that with the tar. We're just gonna kind of let that dry and clean off. Now I'm gonna work on cleaning the actual wheel. So different rag. This time I'm using Geon Prep. You can use any panel prep product that you wanna use. I like CarPro Eraser. I like Geon Prep. I actually like Armour's prep spray quite a bit too. And I'm honestly going to switch to that because I can't buy Geon Prep or CarPro Eraser in California anymore. So I'm gonna switch to the Armour stuff. I think that the Armour actually has a better smell. So I like that better when you're just using it. But they all work really well. I have a couple gallons of this, so I'm gonna use it up. So clean this up with a rag with some prep on it. And then here we have the Armour wheel coating. So Armour wheel coating is just that. It's a coating that is specifically for wheels. It has a high temperature tolerance, so if you've got brakes or whatever that are really close to your wheels like I do, it's supposed to last a lot longer. This is a 30 ml bottle. This is enough to do a couple sets of wheels actually. Smaller bottle might make more sense because you can get a couple sets of wheels out of them, and you need to use it within 30 days of opening the bottle. It says it right on the bottle. Otherwise it'll start to harden in the bottle. So just kind of go through and do a section of the wheel at a time. We'll apply a little bit more. I'm applying it pretty liberally, just because I know for a fact that I'm going to have unused product that I'm going to end up tossing when we're done with this. So we'll get the barrel first, all the way around. And normally I'll put a little bit more on the applicator. This is an Armour applicator. I like it. I like the CarPro one too, with their little, those white suede applicators. But this works well. I wanted to just kind of use Armour with the Armour and keep it all in the family. So got that applied all the way around. Spin this around, and we can start working on the front of the wheel. I only showed the cleaning of the back of the wheel on camera, but really you should clean the entire wheel before doing the application. I had already cleaned the whole thing. I was just doing it a second time for the camera. So again, you just want to make sure that you're consistent with this. So I'm going to get these 5 pockets first. So we've got all the pockets, those are done. Then we're going to, we'll just kind of tuck it in this gap all the way around. So we've got that. Then we'll get this rim, again, all the way around. If you haven't done this a lot, a good trick is you start where the valve stem is. So if you start at the valve stem, work your way around. When you get back to the valve stem, guess what? You're done. So if you do this spoke first, go all the way around. Once you get back, you're done. So we're gonna put this on. We're gonna give this a couple minutes to flash and then we'll buff it off. All right, so we're gonna remove the coating, and I'm using a CarPro Pearl. So what you should find when you're buffing this off is that there's a little grab to it, where your towel doesn't glide incredibly smoothly. There's just a little bit of grab. If it's hard to remove, then you waited too long. But you know, I'm 70 degrees in California. It's a minute or two. You know, it's not a huge length of time. If it's smeary, then you didn't wait long enough. You don't want it to be smeary. So again, get the rim, get all of the spokes. Get the center. Now, this isn't quite necessary, but I like doing a second coat in the barrel. You don't have to. The product works really well, lasts a long time. But again, this comes back to that, like, this is a 30 milliliter bottle, and I'm gonna throw a decent portion of it away. I kind of wish that wheel-specific coatings would come in a smaller bottle. You know, like a 10 mil, because this 30 you could easily get through 3 sets of wheels, which for a detailer is super nice. You know, if you're selling wheel coatings and you're doing one once a day or even once a week, that bottle would last 30 days, which is what its life is once it's opened. But if you're you know, Mr. Everyday Detailer, like me, just a random guy, you end up throwing away a portion of this, which kind of sucks because it's, you know, it's 80 bucks. So I would like to see them come out with maybe a 10 mil bottle and make it like 40 bucks. Obviously there's still packaging and bottling and other production costs and stuff like that. The fluid isn't all of the cost, but maybe a third of the product and half of the price, or something thereabouts, 40, 50 bucks. So again, we'll just give this a minute to flash and then we'll buff it off and then we're gonna get it installed on the car. In the meantime, I put my center cap back on. Don't need to send it, don't need to break any bolts, just need to put it on. Works well. So I like the Surge. It's probably my new favorite Milwaukee tool. So it's been a minute or two. Let's buff this off. All right. Now, we're going to put it on the car. You can use a hanger for this because it is a BMW, so it has lug bolts instead of lug nuts, which I don't love, but I'll usually just start one of them by hand and then work through the rest. Now, last but not least, we'll do tire dressing. Today I am using CarPro Pearl. My first time using it. So sprayed a little on this applicator block here, and we'll just go around the tire. Make sure to get into all of these nooks and crannies. I don't love these applicator blocks. The curveball brush is the better way, but I use that for other things, so that makes it hard to test a particular tire dressing. Like in this case, I want to test Pearl. Well, my applicator's got leftover OG drying aid on it or something like that, then it's not a fair test for Pearl, right? So we'll get the backside too. I generally don't care as much. This is more about dry rot protection than it is about, you know, appearance on the inside of the tire. So apply that, and we are good to go. So now we're going to let this go. It needs to dry for 12 hours before it can get wet. So we'll take the car for a ride tomorrow, see how the tires are, and do our actual test. Hopefully we don't have any problems. Unfortunately, there's kind of this, you have to have a trust in the fact that the tires were balanced properly. And I've received tires before that weren't balanced, which can be problematic. You want to do the coating before you put the wheels on the car, and then if they need to be rebalanced, you don't have a way to stick you actually have to remove the coating to stick the weights on. So we'll let all of this dry. Everything should be good. This is my last one. I spent 2 or 3 hours on this myself, but the wheels look good. They're protected, they're coated. I removed all of my wheel weights with no damage. We have the low profile weights on right now, so we don't have any clearance or fitment issues, which are great. And I tell you what, it is so incredibly tight on these brakes. These brakes are huge. So again, I would recommend if you have a JCW, go to get 18-inch wheels. Just do it. The clearance on the Clubman, which has the same brakes, is so much better than the clearance on these. I only did these 17s because I put them originally on an S. The S had 16s from the factory, so it was already +1, and the S had significantly smaller brakes. When that car got totaled, I ended up getting a JCW, not realizing how much bigger the brakes were, and then I just had to deal with it. So it was either buy a different set of wheels or figure it out. At some point, I might change the struts on this car. They're factory, and the car has almost 60,000 miles. It is lowered 1 inch on NM springs, but I think the struts could probably use a replacement pretty soon. All right, so here you can see the car with the tires installed. I think it looks great. They fill out the wheel wells a little bit better, as these are wider. I did run into a very minor rubbing issue in the back. You can see there's a little bit of plastic here on the tires. So right on the inside of the, right through here, there is a small amount of rubbing that's occurring. So I was able to just trim this back a little bit with a knife pretty easily. This is about this thick. So I just, kind of carved it out where it was rubbing. Now, if I still have rubbing issues, I'll probably go from a 15mm spacer in the rear to a 10. These wheels have a +45 offset. The spacers that are on them are 15mm. I don't need the 15mm spacers in the rears. I do need them in the front to clear the brakes, but I'm not having any rubbing issues in the front. You can see those all look great. So realistically, I could just pull the spacers from here, or I could do something a little bit lighter. I didn't have any issues with rubbing with a 205 with a 15mm. So if I go to I went to a 215 tire, if I go to a 10mm spacer, that should be about the same. Because remember, 10mm in total width, which means 5 on this side and 5 on that side. And I have plenty of clearance on the back side. Could probably use a slightly smaller spacer anyway. So I might just order 10 mils anyway, but I would like to keep it a round setup, and I need to do 15s on the front. So I think that I'm just gonna take it for a drive, see what happens. And then if I need to go to a 10, I'll go to a 10. Otherwise, I think we're good for now. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.